Hey everyone, it's Ryan here. So, about 48 hours from Backlash 2020, I wanted to give my review on it. The reason I didn't do it after the Sunday was because I was tired, but also I've been watching it with a group of Quarterholic fans. We've been doing Zoom calls every Sunday, and this was our second pay-per-view we watched. So I'm basically going to go through the matches, what I thought of them, what I thought of the show in general, sort of build up. So there were 7 matches for the show. They did advertise an 8th one, but I'll get to what happened with that one eventually. So the pre-show, Apollo Crews defends his US title against Andrade. It's one of those things that sort of bugs me. They say they got rid of the rematch clause, but the person that lost the title just happens to win the number one contenders thing. It's just their way around doing the rematch clause. I'd rather if the person lost, they leave not leave, but they have to work their way back from the bottom, not suddenly be within contention again, because then sort of like this, you end up with repeat matches and you sort of need to break from them after a while. This match was very solid. Kevin Owens comes out on commentary to sort of bounce out Angel Garza and Zelina Vega being there. At one point, Angel Garza tries to get involved. Kevin Owens attacks him. Andrade almost gets to roll up, but then Apollo ends up overcoming the odds and winning. So Apollo retains his US title. It turns out on the following Raw is it sort of starts building a wedge between Angel Garza and Andrade, because Angel Garza wants to be next for the title because Andrade failed to win it, but Andrade blames Angel Garza for him losing at the pay-per-view. Angel Garza has a match with Kevin Owens on Raw, and there's a bit where Kevin Owens knocks Angel Garza off the apron to the floor, and Andrade moves out of the way, and Angel Garza gets annoyed at him. So yeah, there's a potential fallout between those two, which is interesting. One thing about the Raw that was on last night, technically night before, because it's now 5 in the morning on Wednesday, is that it left me very curious as to what they're going to do next week, because to me it was a very good Raw. It's been a good Raw compared to what we've had for quite a while. Second match, Bayley and Sasha Banks retain the women's tag. I keep wanting to call it SmackDown Women's Tag Team because they're just having it SmackDown. The Women's Tag Team Championship against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross and the Iconics. Very solid match. There was a couple of moments of miscommunication or something, but it wasn't anything too major. The ending, which I sort of called 30 seconds before it happened, basically it's Alexa Bliss and I think Peyton Royce in the ring, and Alexa Bliss goes onto the corner and she does Twisted Bliss. This is after everyone's taken everyone out. The only person that's not been taken out is Sasha Banks. So Alexa Bliss hits Twisted Bliss. Sasha Banks rolls in. And she actually rolls up Alexa Bliss and pins her. I thought she would have done the cliche of she comes in, throws the person out, pins the one that's been hit with the finisher. So they win by a roll up. So it's going to be more people extending on when's Bayley and Sasha going to break up and have a rivalry. I personally am tired of it. I'm tired of people constantly asking for it, because we know by the time we get to it, they're going to be disappointed because it's not going to be how they want it, or when they want it, or where they want it. So I'm just letting the story build itself. I would find it more entertaining if they literally just stayed as a tag team for that long, just to annoy the people that much more. Next match, Sheamus against Jeff Hardy in a singles match. The whole story to this is Jeff Hardy's just come back from being out for 10 months after being arrested for a DUI and all this stuff. So they're basically using that story as there's been a hit and run on the Liars. There's been a car that's been crashed into a pole. It's got Jeff Hardy's name on the rental contract thing. They find Jeff Hardy in a bush, so they assume he's been drink driving and he was involved in a hit and run. Sheamus obviously says, "Oh, look at him, he's such a junkie, blah blah blah." It basically immediately shows it's Sheamus. Jeff Hardy comes back later, attacks Sheamus and costs him a chance of becoming IC champion. On the SmackDown before, they get Jeff Hardy to have basically do a piss test essentially, and they do a repeat. I think it's from 2006 with Shawn Michaels, where they go, "Oh, it's better to be pissed off than pissed on," and he throws the piss in Sheamus' face. I predicted Sheamus to win because it's going to be just more into Jeff Hardy's downward spiral, and also Extreme Rules is up next. So my guess is Jeff will do well at Extreme Rules instead. Yeah, it was a very solid match. There's a lot of moments where Sheamus is just dominating Jeff Hardy, so a lot of people are thinking that Jeff Hardy's going to have the underdog come back and go on to win it. The end comes where Jeff hits Twist of Fate, Swanton Bomb, but Sheamus gets his foot on the rope. He then rolls out the ring. Jeff Hardy runs across the barricade with the plexiglass and jumps straight into a Brogue Kick, who then rolls him in the ring, hits with another Brogue Kick and gets the win. So it's more of the downward spiral of Jeff Hardy. Next match, Asuka versus Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Championship. Like I said, the build-up for this was crap, and the finish to this match was even worse. It's a lot of like back and forth and doing their moves and stuff like that. The ending is a double count out. So not only was the build-up to this piss poor, with the whole Charlotte Flair getting involved, Asuka losing 3 times, she can't even beat Nia Jax properly now. And again, on Raw, they extend on that. Nia Jax pushes the ref. The ref is about to disqualify her. Asuka then rolls her up, and the ref does a fast count. So the face Asuka can't even win clean against Nia Jax, whereas she's done it plenty of times before. So Asuka's now, annoyingly, week by week, is just looking weaker as a champion. And we were kind of hoping with Becky gone that she would be like the next replacement for Becky, as like this top champion that's actually really strong. But they're not doing Asuka any favors, to be honest. It feels like 2 years ago all over again, where she won the title at TLC in the Triple Threat thanks to Ronda Rousey. So again, she was an afterthought. Sort of like when she won the 2018 Rumble. She won it. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss were there as champions. Ronda comes out. Again, first time ever winner of the Women's Royal Rumble is Asuka. She's just an afterthought. And I sort of feel like this is what... I don't know why, but they keep doing this to Asuka, and it's really annoying. Is even when she's champion, she's not the centerpiece. Yeah, it was a crap finish, having a double count out, especially on a pay-per-view. The whole point of pay-per-views is to either end feuds or someone become a new champion or retain the championship. It's like the end of the rivalry for that month. But yeah, by the looks of it, it's got to keep going, I guess. Next match, Braun Strowman against The Miz and John Morrison. There was potential for Miz and Morrison to win. Morrison at one point pinned Strowman, and Miz pulls Morrison off of Strowman. Morrison's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just did." Yeah, and then basically puts him back on and fails. Strowman gets back up, has a comeback, hits a running power slam, and he wins. So he retains. Possibly building into Miz and Morrison breaking up. Maybe, who knows? I don't want them to. They're quite good, like as a duo by themselves. Next we have Drew McIntyre against Bobby Lashley. Now, surprisingly, like a lot of people say how good their TNA match was. I can't remember watching it that much, but this match, I really enjoyed it because like Bobby Lashley's been built up as this amazing threat to Drew McIntyre, especially with MVP. Like ever since he left, like this is where the best part comes in. So on the Raw after Bobby Lashley, well, I'll explain the match and then I'll come to the Raw. Like ever since Bobby Lashley's been with MVP, he's just skyrocketed to just how good he actually is and how dangerous he can be. In this match, they're pulling moves that I've not seen them do before. So at one point, Bobby Lashley, I think, reverses I can't remember what the move is, but he reverses it and he puts the ankle lock on Drew McIntyre. And it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't think I've ever seen Bobby Lashley do that. And they're all like trading submission holds with each other. Bobby Lashley goes for a spear at one point. Drew rolls out of it and puts him in Kimura lock, which is Brock's finishing move. And yeah, it was a really solid match. Lana comes out and she basically tries to get involved, distracts MVP, distracts Bobby Lashley, and then Bobby Lashley knocks MVP into Lana, who then turns around and gets hit with a Claymore. So Drew retains in a very hard fought match. And yeah, like Lana's sort of like ever since they put them together, it's been like the worst thing ever. And like ever since MVP came along, separating from Lana, Bobby's been so much better. And then to top it off on Raw, basically Bobby Lashley and MVP call Lana out, and Bobby Lashley basically tells Lana that he wants a divorce. And I was like, great, because she's not helping him in any way. And I think at one point one of the lines is, "Oh, I don't need you, I can get anyone I want," which is basically, it's literally what Rusev said. It's like, "Oh, you can have a Bobby because she'll just leave you for someone else." And it's like, it's just, they're just proving the point. But yeah, another intriguing thing with MVP is Apollo Crews defending his US title against Shelton Benjamin on Raw. And basically there's a slight heel tactics with Apollo Crews because he grabbed the ropes to get the win. But he's approached both Apollo Crews and Shelton Benjamin about possibly being managed by him. And I would love to see that stable. Bobby Lashley, Apollo Crews, Shelton Benjamin with MVP as their manager. And I know the only problem is now we've already got 2 stables on Raw with you've got Seth Rollins and his followers, and then you had Andrade and Angel Garza. Like Austin Theory was with them, and that's like technically a stable. But like I said, I'm very intrigued with that one. And the next match, which they advertised, which never actually happened, was the Street Profits versus Viking Raiders for the tag titles. Basically, they start brawling backstage, and I'm thinking, oh, this is interesting. They can go to the ring and then have the match. No, it's just it's the cinematic match of the pay-per-view. They're basically doing all the flashbacks to the Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better series they've had over Raw for the past few weeks. So Ivar keeps having flashbacks of playing bowling, axe throwing, the decathlon, all the women calling him cute. There's one bit where they basically all end up in a dump, basically a skip or dumpster thing, whatever. And basically that's when he has a flashback to everyone calling him cute. The female referee pops up, I can't remember what her name is, but she goes, oh, what are you doing there? You got to get out. Oh, hey, Ivar, you're kind of cute. Eric, not so much, because that's a running joke that they've been doing for weeks. But there's a bit where they start brawling outside. There's one bit where it actually was like the one time I went, oh, that was interesting, is Angelo Dawkins spears Ivar through some glass, and I was like, oh, like imagine if that was like actual glass rather than like sugar glass. But it was interesting to see for a change that they went a bit more vicious with it. There's a bit where they're all brawling outside. Ivar at some point gets a turkey leg because that's his thing. He's got turkey legs now. Randomly, out of nowhere, a bunch of motorcycles appear into the shop. And there's several ninjas, and there's one of them in a helmet, and it's Akira Tozawa. No idea. Apparently he's now got a stable of ninjas. Is it racially insensitive? I don't know, unless they actually translated what he said from Japanese to English, which I doubt it was just him saying words. But the interesting thing, one of his ninjas is 7'4", and it's fucking huge. Apparently he's like some NXT developmental talent, which he's been in the Performance Center for a few years, but he's like a former NBA player. But they basically show up, they start brawling over. They basically unite at one point, and now Ivar has the Force, and he can Force summon a turkey leg. But basically they've come together and they've become the Viking Prophets, which I'm a bit more intrigued to see that, to be honest. I'd like to see the Viking Prophets, I think. Like to see more of what they do. There's a bit where it's just like those 4, Akira Tozawa and the 7'4" ninja. I think they just call him the Giant Ninja. And they literally get in a huddle and they go, no, and they basically all run away. They all climb the trailers outside, and they start brawling again. I guess their alliance was over. There's a bit where Angelo Dawkins does his running bulldog onto Eric into all the trash, and then Montez looks down, and then Ivar throws him in, and then Ivar swantons off, and then that's when the flashback happens in the female ref, and then they all start screaming because some tentacle thing is basically waving at them, and then it cuts to black, and it goes to an advert, and that's the end. It's like, why advertise the match if it's not going to be a match? And 2, why end it like that? I think it would have been taken a lot better if they didn't advertise it as a match the night before. If it literally just happened, it would literally be a 15-minute comedy segment. But the fact they advertised it as a match and that it was coming up next, and then it never happened before the main event, makes it a bit silly. And then finally, the greatest wrestling match ever. So it's going to be one of those things where, a lot of people have said, because they put that name on it, it's tarnished it. If you take the whole greatest wrestling match ever thing away, it's a fucking brilliant match. Like, I would give it 4.5 stars out of 5 if I did ratings. Again, sort of like Drew and Bobby Lashley, it's amazing to see these two wrestlers doing stuff that's different to what you're used to seeing. Like, they start off with traditional wrestling holds, like working the arms, working the legs, all that stuff. Start hitting like other moves like superplex. You got DDTs. You got like just the normal wrestling stuff. Then to make it even more interesting, they start hitting other people's finishing moves. So at one point, Edge hits the Unprettier, which is Christian's finishing move. Randy Orton kicks out. Randy Orton hits the Angle Slam. Kurt Angle's move, kicks out. Edge hits literally they're doing like 7 or 8 different people's finishes, but they just keep kicking out of them. Like, I know Randy Orton does a pedigree at one point, and he kicks out. Edge hits him with a spear, hits him with another spear. Orton kicks out. Literally, me and the group that were watching it at first, we were just like, oh, and then we got intrigued by the different moves, and the fact they kicked out too. We literally got fully invested in that match with the multiple kickouts. Edge Edge gets caught with an RKO by Orton. He kicks out. Randy Orton hits another RKO, and he kicks out. The ending is Edge goes to grab Orton. I think Orton knees him in the he basically just low blows him, whether it's intentional or not, I don't know. And then he punts Edge, the move that's supposed to be banned and all this stuff. He punts Edge, and that's how he gets the win. And you can just see Edge is just looking at the stars. It's like he thinks his neck is gone. Randy Orton basically just talking, go home to your wife, go home to your kids, tell them Uncle Randy says hi. It's I fucking love sinister Randy Orton, 2009 Randy Orton, when he's he doesn't care who you are, he's just gonna go after you. And then with the Raw after, it basically proves that he's bringing the Legend Killer back. So yeah, it's it was an amazing match. It went for 45 minutes, but I could happily watch that 45 minutes again. I can only imagine the reaction that it's one of those matches people would have been bored at first, and they just would have magically loved it. It was incredible, and just to think the noise that there would have been if there was a crowd there would have been even better. But yeah, unfortunately, first thing people go by will be, oh, well, it's not the greatest wrestling match ever. I was what's their greatest wrestling match ever? If that's what the slogan was, their greatest wrestling match ever, fair play to them, because it was fucking amazing. And to make it even better, in a way, Edge at some point had torn his tricep in the match, and he still finished off the match. So he's probably going to be out to 4 to 6 months, unfortunately. But I think the whole punt thing was sort of a way to write him off for a while anyway. So it works in a way, I guess. He can come back for about Rumble time, maybe. Yeah, and then to make it more interesting, on the Raw after, Randy Orton comes out. He calls out Christian. Christian calls him a son of a bitch for doing what he did to Edge. He had no right to. And then the best part, Randy Orton goes, oh, I see that look in your eyes. You want one more match. Which is basically what Christian's thing was for years. Since 2011 all the way to 2014, he was kept asking for one more match, for the world title. And Christian's look, no, I don't. I'm not cleared to wrestle because of whatever. And Randy's I know that, and I've worked my way around it. An unsanctioned match. I'll give you to the end of the night to make a decision. But if you don't make a decision, then you just prove what everyone else knows. It's you're a coward. And it's oh, and then I'm sat there the whole night. Literally, that's what kept me interested in that Raw. It's something that happens in the beginning, potentially have something that happens at the end. And I was is he going to? And 2 hours in, Christian basically just grabs the microphone and goes, I accept your challenge, Randy. I'm oh, like that. And then cuts to, you get the main event. Ric Flair comes out. Ric Flair multiple times has been telling him, don't do this, Christian. This is the Randy of old. He doesn't care about your well-being. He will, make it much worse than it is. Christian goes, no, I have to do this. So Rick goes to leave the ring. Bell rings. Boom. Low blow by Ric Flair. Punt by Randy Orton. And he pins Christian and wins that way. I think he said something to Christian as well. I didn't watch. I can't remember. But yeah, I was sinister Randy Orton is the best Randy Orton. When he's invested in something, like that match at Backlash, it's amazing to watch. I know people give him slack for him being boring and slow in matches, but I think most of the time it's just he knows that he's been there for several years. It's going to take a lot for them to get rid of him. But if he's not investing in something, he's not going to put the time and effort in. But when he is, he goes for it. It's the same with Brock Lesnar, essentially. If he's invested in what's going on, he can make it work. But yeah, to be honest, I think Backlash, it was a mixed show. Like, where it was good, it was really good. The downside to me was the double count out for the women's title match, and the fact it's more the fact they advertised that Street Profits versus Viking Raiders was going to be a match, and it never was. And then the fact that they labelled the last match the greatest wrestling match ever. But in fairness, it was a pretty damn good match. But that's my review for Backlash 2020. Apologies if you hear the vehicles outside. I've got my window open because it's hot in here. And like I said, it's just gone 5 in the morning. So obviously, like, trucks and people working earlier, driving by. I live by the main road, unfortunately. But yeah, anyway, that is my review for Backlash 2020. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll do another 2K20 video for my predictions for Extreme Rules when that comes around. But and then also during the just before I go off, with the Courtaholic group that I was with, we did a quiz, sort of like Quizlemania, a few hours before, and I won that by 1 point though. It was very close. And then for predictions, I got 6 out of 8 correct. Well, technically 6 out of 7. Because Street Profits and Viking Raiders never happened, and the Asuka and Nia Jax was a double count out. On a technicality, Asuka retained, so technically I would have got all the predictions if we were doing it that way, but we're doing it based on actual result, not based on who walks out champion. And then over the 3 pay-per-views, I'm tied champion, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, that's my review for Backlash 2020. Thank you very much for watching this video. Be sure to follow me on YouTube, Mixer, Twitter, Instagram, Xbox, PlayStation. They're all Arbilington94. All caps, you can see in the channel below. And yeah, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, anything like that, and I will talk to you in the next one.